Hello, and thanks for tuning in. I'm Holly Shields here for Kalkine Media, and welcome to another edition of Executive Corner Expert Talks. Today, we'll be shining a light on Gold Eye and Crypto Switch. And the best way to do that is to sit down with the founder and CEO, Tom Higgins. Tom, thanks for joining us today.
Well, thank you very much for having me, Holly.
It's a pleasure to have you on the show. Now, first of all, I'd love to ask you if you could share with us an overview of the digital asset institutional solutions that Crypto Switch provides.
Yeah, so if I start with a little bit of history, because that probably is the best way to sort of fill in where we are today. So we started with our FX product base, which is called Matrix, our liquidity management platform there, which has been in production for about 9 years now. About 5 years ago, we noticed that cryptos was becoming really interesting space to get involved in. And so we built our first version of Crypto Switch, which was just a price aggregation tool between multiple exchanges. But the original exchanges then were really quite poor. They were not very good for institutional trading. They were very poor latency, terrible drifting in prices. I mean, it really wasn't acceptable, wasn't really usable for the institutional market. And so after the price crash of 2017, we came back and had a rethink and decided, how's the best way that we can address this market? And we built Crypto Switch 2. And what that was focused on is purely the institutional market, providing liquidity to that. But accessing liquidity from different places that are very specific to the different sorts of clients that you have. So the first counterparties that we integrated with were market makers. So these, rather than exchanges, these were large market makers providing either a lot of liquidity in the sort of main coins, the Bitcoin and ETH, etc., or a larger set of coins when you go a little bit further out, like OMG and things like that. So by combining that together, we got a really good liquidity source that was very highly tuned to the sort of institutional client that wanted to access the liquidity. Since then, we've now added more and more of these. We've now got 17 market makers and exchanges integrated, as well as a number of traditional FX LPs who've got into the crypto space using their technology. So it's our, I would say, it's using our technology expertise from the traditional finance world and then our deep knowledge of the crypto world. We brought the two together to produce a really, really good solution for the institutional space.
And it sounds like you've had lots of growth since its inception, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as I said, it was the market was a bit weird when it started because the technology players in the crypto space had mostly come from web technology and not come from the sort of financial trading world. So the protocols they used were not really that appropriate to the institutional space. They didn't use FIX, which is what all institutions use. They use WebSockets and REST protocols, which they're acceptable, but it's just if they're not the standard that everybody is using, it's another barrier to entry. So we've had to do that hard lifting of integrating with other protocols and turning it back into the standard protocols like FIX that everybody wants to use. And because we've done that, we've then made that available. We've reduced the barriers to entry and made that available to all the different the players that want to access, from funds to brokers to prime of primes to crypto brokers, crypto prime of primes, all of the different sort of people, including exchanges too.
Right. I mean, that sounds like a really crucial update, I think, that you've implemented.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big sort of change is bringing everything together into one source so that whatever type of liquidity you need to have. I mean, we have one client that's trading in 20 to 50 Bitcoins in each clip, others that are trading in half a Bitcoin on the clip or 0.001 Bitcoin in the clip. And you have very different liquidity providers to suit those different needs. The other thing about the crypto market, which is different to the FX market, is of course it's 24/7. So where we used to clock off on a Friday evening in the UK when we could then go home for the weekend and relax a bit, you can't in the crypto world because it is 24 hours a day. So we have to have support. We have to have our availability to have liquidity streaming with no downtime at all in the full 24/7 period, which we've done and we put in place.
Right, and that's a really important step there as well. I think, as you just mentioned, yes, the markets are 24/7, and that's certainly a lot to take on, I can imagine, in your position. So it's obviously
Yeah, it certainly makes it a fuller week than we had before. But I mean, I think one of the reasons that we've been able to do this is because right from the beginning, when I set up the company 13 and a half years ago, I wanted to build a business based on really, really strong values. That was a place that people really wanted to work. I hated the idea of working somewhere where you had a horrible boss who shouted at everybody and gave orders out, because I just don't think that's the way to work. I think everybody should come to a place they want to work in. So we set our values in place, and they've been the same ever since. And we live them, we recruit by them, we measure everyone on them, and they are have fun, innovate, and get it done. And we have a fun committee to make sure that people do have fun, run by the staff, because why spend most of your living hours doing something you don't want to do, that you don't enjoy? What's the point? So if you're not enjoying what you do, you should be doing something else, really, in my view, if you can. Not everyone has that luxury, but if you can innovate, we have to innovate all the time. More than half our development resources on research and development to build the products of the future rather than the products of today, and then get it done. We will never stop looking into issues, whether there are issues, LP issues, client issues, other third-party issues. We will always help our clients to get the problem sorted and get moving on. And that's our mantra. And that's what we live by, for those values.
Very important mantra there. And I've got to say, a very important perspective as well. It is great to hear that. And I have to say as well that, I can imagine that you have had quite a bit of success with the work ethic. I think that I'm hearing, so that is, it's good to hear. And to touch on your client base as well, just with Gold Eye, actually, I understand that you've developed a rather broad global client base. What would you say has been your unique selling point behind this substantial growth?
Well, because we've always been very good at providing the whole customer experience, I like to call it, because it's not just customer service, it's the whole, from initially talking to our sales department, to onboarding, to then through account management, to going live, buying more products from us. Sometimes people leave when they have different needs, or their business moves on, other people come to us. It's that whole process, that whole customer experience that is really good, and we try really, really hard to improve all the time. We have an engagement survey for our staff, which we run every 6 months, and we've done that for years, so that we can make sure as a management team we're improving. Engagement surveys are not about the staff doing better, it's about the management managing the company better, because it's all about communication. And what we find from that is the more communication you can have with people, the better it is. And the better culture you have, the better you can get that communication. And that's in the times of COVID, that's the thing that's been really quite hard, because when you're apart from each other, keeping that culture going in a global business, because we have an operation in Shanghai as well, it is hard. So that communication is so key to get that going. I mean, we have a management meeting every single day. We have a management meeting every morning about this time, every single day, so that we know what we're doing and nothing is a surprise and no one is sort of operating in a vacuum. It's communication is just absolutely the number one important thing, I would say.
Absolutely. Communication is key. Very well said there. And I understand as well that Gold Eye has won several awards, especially its multi-asset liquidity solutions. What would you say we can look forward to seeing from Gold Eye in the near term?
Well, yeah, we have won lots of awards, industry awards, local awards, business awards. And I think the most exciting one was the Queen's Award, when I was presented to our Queen. I can say our Queen because we still have the same Queen, which is great. And so I went to Buckingham Palace and she shook my hand and I was presented to her, and then I had a little chat to her afterwards about the markets. I must say, for someone who's 97, this was a few years ago, this is about 5 years ago, she's seriously switched on. I must say, she really knows her stuff. So what's the big next award I'd like to get? Well, I think it'll probably be the King's Award will be the next one, because I suspect it will be in a couple of years, because it takes a while to do these things. As far as the business goes, though, rather than just the awards side business, we are seeing phenomenal growth in our crypto side of the business, absolute phenomenal growth. That's where we're pushing our R&D direction. We're still obviously serving the traditional FX market, but most of the innovation is now in our markets is coming on the crypto side. Every single FX broker is asking for crypto liquidity, but the whole pure crypto space is its entire own entity, demanding our services. So we are seeing so many leads coming in every single day for our institutional crypto liquidity. And it does require really quite special management systems to manage the crypto liquidity, because it's much thinner at certain times of the day. So Sunday night, there's very little liquidity. So you have to be able to manage how you route orders in a much smarter way than with FX, where you've pretty much got unlimited liquidity in the majors at any time. You don't have that luxury in crypto, so you have to make sure you're routing to the right place. You've also got to choose the right partners for the right coins, because if you're just doing Bitcoin, you've got a choice of people. But if you want to do a lot of the other blockchain-based tokens, which people want to do now, then you've got to have a different market. As far as real long-term stuff, I think things like the metaverse is really exciting. Sandbox, Decentraland, I've been looking at that quite a lot, because of course they're powered by cryptocurrencies to buy and sell NFTs that represent the land and all of the different wearables and assets that you have in the metaverse. But I think that's a really interesting space. It's not something for today. It's still very nascent, but give it a couple of years, and I think really going to be happening there.
Yes, absolutely. Very well said. They do say it'll be a multi-billion or even trillion-dollar industry.
I think it will. I think it will.
Yeah, it'd be great to watch that shape up, and we'll definitely keep an eye on everything that you've got going on in the upcoming years ahead. It sounds like you've got a very busy period, as well as the market is, I think, recovering from its little dip earlier this year. But it sounds like you've got a boom coming up, so we'll definitely keep an eye on everything you've got going on. But with that said, thanks very much for joining us here on Executive Corner Expert Talks and sharing your insights with us.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Pleasure to have you on. Thanks for your time as well, viewers. That was Tom Higgins, the founder and CEO of Goldeye and Crypto Switch. And if you missed any part of that chat, you can catch the full interview on our YouTube channel at Kalkine Media, and make sure to subscribe. I'm Holly Shields, reminding you to stay apprised and invest wise with Kalkine.